Hey, we're Janine and Joe. We're newbie sailors and outdoor enthusiasts. We think we live in one of the most picturesque places in Canada, and we want to show you everything our province has to offer, by land and sea. Join us this week as we share what caused our sailboat to be dismasted in Halifax Harbour, and we start to put the pieces back together. Janine and I want to say thank you to everyone who's been watching our videos. If you're not already, we would appreciate it if you subscribed. Hi everyone.
I think where we had left off previously in filming is that we were on our way to McNabs Island. We were just past George's Island, I believe, on the last little clip that we had filmed. And we wanted to let you all know what happened to us today while we were sailing.
Yeah, so no one wants this to happen, but just cutting straight to the point, our mast came down.
Joe and I are just getting ready to head out on what I would consider our biggest sailboat adventure yet. We are going to go to McNabs Island, which is on the furthest point of the Halifax Harbour.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So we're going to put all the pieces together, everything we've learned, and hopefully we're going to nail this today. Yeah, all should go well.
All should go well. Right now there is fairly light wind, I'm going to say. Definitely under 10 knots where we're at right now.
We had a nice sunny day and just the right amount of wind. We were tacking our way up the Narrows towards McNabs Island. The island behind the shipping container is McNabs Island, which was our destination for the day. Here is George's Island, and our accident happened right after this clip was taken. So I think we might have been in the middle of a tack. I don't really remember, but our mast kind of slowly came down and to the right. And we were totally fine. We kind of ducked under our dodger, and then took us, a few seconds to a minute to kind of get our bearings and figure out what was going on. But we realized that hey, the mast is, it's down. We needed to start the engine. I think that's the first thing you said was start the engine. So we started the engine right up. It was obvious that the mast was still attached to the boat, through the shrouds and lines and stuff like that. So Janine took the wheel while I just added a few more lines onto the mast to make sure it didn't float away. I don't think it would have, but we're being cautious. It was just kind of dragging behind us. Maybe it's a 50-foot mast, so maybe like 35 feet in the water, and 15 feet of the mast was still on the boat, and we were close to McNabs Island, so we had to turn around and motor all the way back to Dartmouth Yacht Club. And I don't know how long it took. It might have taken an hour and a half.
I think it took at least an hour and a half. So I was at the helm when this happened. Joe was doing the lines, and I saw that the forestay, the sail, our furler started coming down, and then I ran under the dodger. And I didn't even realize immediately that the mast was also coming down at the same time. We believe that there was a failure with the forestay pin. We're not entirely sure yet exactly what happened, but that's definitely where the problem originated. All of our rigging was fine. Otherwise, it was all attached when the mast came down. It was something with the forestay pin that went wrong, and once that went down, the rest of the mast followed.
Yeah, the pin was very bent, so
yeah, it was very damaged.
So it failed. Long story short, it failed. And looking forward, we're going to figure it all out very soon. As of right now, we had somebody come help us, get the mast up onto the boat so it is secure on there. And then, tomorrow we're gonna bring it into a dock and get it off of the boat, and then kind of assess what needs to be done to kind of put the pieces all back together. Hopefully, nothing too serious, but we're gonna move forward, and
we'll figure
we're gonna
it
get
out.
the mast back in the air one way or another.
Yeah, and I will say that everyone was really nice that offered to help all the other boaters that were going by. The Halifax ferry passed us at one point, and they must have called the Coast Guard to let them know that we had been demasted, and then the Coast Guard contacted us, and they were really nice, but we told them that we have everything pretty much under control. We had secured the mast and we were just motoring back to the club. That was the worst part, was how long it took after this happened for us to motor all the way back to the club. And then when we got back to the club, we had called a couple of people that we knew, and they came out to our boat to help us. Yeah, so that's how our trip to McNabs Island went.
Try to figure out a way to move forward.
Yeah, and get back on the water. Hello everyone. We wanted to give you all an update on the situation that happened with our mast. It's been about a month now since the accident happened. We had originally filmed that first clip that you saw of us talking about the demasting right after it had happened, the day of. And in the days that followed that, we were kind of thinking that we weren't going to post this video at all. And then after giving it some thought, we decided that we were going to go ahead with it, because even if this helps one person who's in a similar situation to us, then it will have been worth it. So Joe's gonna kind of talk more about the technical things that have happened, and now that we know a bit more what would have caused the accident.
Yeah, what happened was somewhat obvious when we first looked at it, but we brought in a couple professionals to take a look and confirm that what we were thinking was correct. So we had a professional rigger come in and take a look. And what it comes down to is we had an extension at the bottom of our furler. Lots of people have extensions. And our extension was a metal bar. We'll put a picture of it on the screen, but it's about a foot long. And it extends the furler down to the boat, and it connects with a pin. And what we didn't know when we got the boat, and our surveyor didn't mention this to us, but these extensions should be double-sided. And so when it connects to the boat, there's a plate on the boat that it connects to. The extensions should sandwich that plate. So when your pin goes through, the pressures are even. So when the wind is hitting the sail and it's pulling up on that furler, the pin has the same amount of pressure on each side of it. And so what happened in our situation is our extension wasn't double-sided, it was only one-sided. So we had a plate on a plate, kind of like this. And the pressure started to pull them kind of like in this direction. And the pin started to bend, and we'll include a picture of that as well so you can take a look at it. And it sheared the safety pin or the cotter pin right out. So at some point when we were under sail, it was able to just slip right out and come down. So what we're doing now is we're having a new extension made up, which is double-sided, to avoid this issue in the future. Unfortunately, our surveyor ideally would have mentioned this to us. It's something that if you're familiar with boats, is fairly obvious. We know now, but we were new boaters when we bought the boat, so we were really relying on professionals to point things like this out to us. If you're new to boating and sailing and you're buying your first boat, even if you're getting a surveyor, we also highly recommend a rigger look at your rigging and make sure that everything is the way it should be. And ideally, they're going up the mast if the mast is on the boat, or the mast is on the ground, so they can really take a good look at everything and make sure it's proper and safe for you.
And I will say that after this accident happened, and we actually had 2 different companies come in with rigging experts to look at it, and they both came to the same conclusion, I actually did notice walking around the club that there are other boats that have what looks to be just the one extension bar attaching their furler. So it is something to be aware of. It had been set up that way before, and obviously they had been using it and it had been fine, but it's just not worth probably the risk of potentially dismasting your boat, and it's worth having a rigger come in and make sure that everything is set up as it should be. Because the surveyors are not necessarily as familiar with the rigging as someone who specializes in that would be.
Yeah, and also have like an inspection schedule for yourself. Maybe like could be every time you go boating, once a week. Before you go out, just go around and check all the pins and make sure they're all straight and the cotter pins and the safety pins are in place and nothing's gonna come loose. That's important too.
Yeah. So now we're basically gonna show you the footage of the last month of all the work that we've been doing on the boat, mostly Joe, and how we're getting ready to get back on the water as soon as possible.
Yep, we're hoping to have the mast up by the end of this coming week. I don't know if that will be in this video, but if not, it'll be in a future video, and we'll kind of like walk around all the rigging and we'll show you all the pins and everything. So so if you're interested in that sort of thing, please follow along with us.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, so we're here doing a little repair today. So you can see behind me, our Dodger is not quite straight. Looks worse than it is really. The only thing we have going on here is this little piece here popped out of our fiberglass when our mast kind of fell on the Dodger here, and it kind of forced it out of the fiberglass. So really we just have a couple little holes that we're going to fill up with epoxy, let it harden, re-drill it, screw this piece back in, and then our Dodger should sit as it would normally. So this is the attachment point where this particular brace for the Dodger connected in. You see we have 2 screw holes here, and all I'm going to do right now to start the process is I have my little rotary tool here, and I'm just going to grind these holes out just a little bit to make sure it's clean and the epoxy has something to grip into so it won't come loose again. I've just used the rotary tool just to grind this back a little bit, just to make sure there's no gel coat that's chipping off. We have a good seal and everything. Everything seems pretty solid around the holes. So the next step in an epoxy job is to get the surface clean to make sure there's no dirt stopping a good bind. So what we're using is acetone. You can pick this up at any hardware store. You can just put a little bit on a cloth and rub it on the surface, and it will give you something nice and clean for your epoxy to bind to. You can already see that it's coming much cleaner than it was. Some of the old sealant is coming off. We're seeing the gel coat again come nice and clean. Okay, we're getting ready to mix up our epoxy here, and we're using West System products, which makes the process really easy. So I just have a plastic cup, and this is a 1-pump system. So we have our resin here, and then we have our hardener here. So what's good about this system is it's 1 pump and 1 pump. So we're going to put in 1 pump of resin, and then we're going to put in 1 pump of hardener is a little short, so I'll give it a little more. And we should have the right ratio. And then we're gonna mix that up. You will see that the consistency is still liquidy, and that's not what we want for this job. We want it to be a lot thicker. And so what we're using for that is colloidal silica. This is a filler that will thicken this liquid up into a paste. And you do want to use face protection for this. And now what we have is a nice thick paste. It doesn't run, it doesn't go anywhere. So now we're going to use this to fill our holes. And there we go. That hardens up, it'll be as solid as a rock. Hi, so we're just taking an opportunity to replace these electrical connectors that come up through our mast for our lighting when we're at anchor or underway. So these connectors are really simple. They basically unscrew and then they expose where the wires are connected just with a little flathead screw, which we're going to undo. And then to replace them, I have some very similar connectors, but as you can see, you know, these old wires are degraded a little bit, so I might cut them back, get some of the corrosion out of there, and then connect them to nice new connectors just to make sure we're not going to have any issues. And you'll see to keep them separated for which is which, there's a male end and there's a female end, and then on the mast there's the opposite connectors, so you can't mix them up. So we're going to pull these off now and put the new ones on. A few days later, after the epoxy dried, I went back to the boat, sanded the holes, and put the Dodger fitting back in. Here's the Dodger, looking good as new. Hey everyone, it's a beautiful Sunday here. It's been about a month since our mast fell down, and I'm just here to work on a couple little projects. We're hoping to get this thing back up next week, so I'm going to show you what we've worked on so far, what I'm going to be working on today, what our plans are for the rigging over the coming week, and then we'll get to show you putting our mast back up next weekend, fingers crossed. So here we are at the base of the mast. Here's our weld that fixed up the bent metal at the bottom of the mast. That was the only real damage to the mast, and while it's a little messy, we hope to clean it up and paint it next spring. Down here we have our electrical connectors that I've replaced already, so they're ready to go. But I'm going to be working on this coax cable today. I need to put a new connector on it. That's for our antenna for our VHF radio, so we're going to make sure that's working today. And here's the top of our furler. So we have a rigger coming in this week, and he is essentially going to be leaving the furler together where it is. And what he'll have to do is cut it right here, pull the wire through the end, and put it back up through the top. We see that they're doing like a mechanical compression connector here, and then the part that goes in the furler is what's called a swage fitting or a compression fitting. So what the rigger is going to do is he's going to take the this apart right here. I'll try to show you that if I can. And this is where the bottom of the wire is. We'll pull that through all the way out and then stick a new one up and then put a new compression fitting on the top. So that piece of rigging will be replaced. And then one of the lower shrouds. So this one here, starboard side is fine, but port side shroud, I've already removed it, and it's been given to the rigger, and he's gonna create a new one. Okay, so what we're gonna be doing here today is I'm going to strip back this wire a little more than it is right now. You see on the coax you have the center wire, you have a protective layer another protective layer, and then the outside layer. So I'll be using this tool, which is set to the different thicknesses, and I've already have it set from the last time I did this, so hopefully I don't have to adjust this because it's a pain in the butt. And then what I'm putting on there is a PL259 connector for this type of coax cable. I had to solder the tip and the sides of the coax connector. It was a little tricky in this location. After a few minutes, I found it easiest to lay the solder over where I wanted it and press the iron down from above. Tune in next week as Janine and I explore Nova Scotia's South Shore. We were lucky and we got to see the blue nose coming into port. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.